What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Monday, by the way. Hopefully you guys are having a good start to the week. In today's video, we are going to talk about the brand new fusion that just launched in-game. We're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about how best to navigate it, anything to look out for, and all that. So let's jump right into it. So right now, currently, we have the ongoing fusion. It is a mixed fusion. With that being said, the mixed fusion part of it is you have to collect the fragments for the epic and then level up the epic and fuse the epics together to make the legendary. So the legendary here, Lysanthir is a defense-based damage dealer specializing with a couple conditional boosts for Hydra. He has a Devour damage boost, as well as Ignore Life Barrier on his passive. You guys can check out the playtest for him that I have already. His damage was decent. However, in my comparison, I compare him to Marius, which is a max HP damage dealer on lower difficulty. This means that Marius looks slightly worse in comparison. So Lysanthir, even though he didn't overtake Marius in terms of overall damage, he did look decent relative to Marius on hard difficulty. The team was also optimized for Lysanthir to do as much damage as possible, so most likely his damage numbers were a little bit better than expected. But overall, he still can pitch in some damage, and I think the best part about his kit is his decreased speed and weaken on a single move on a 3-turn cooldown. If you don't have this easily on your Hydra teams or on 3 Hydra teams, Lysanthir can definitely help you out. So without further ado, let's jump into the schedule here on how to get him. Just a quick note here, I did do a poll on my channel over the weekend, and it looks like a lot of you guys are not interested in this champion and this fusion at all. 76% are saying no, 16% undecided, 8% are saying yes. This is an extremely low confirmation, 8%. He's not that bad. He's not that bad of a champion. I assume he can be helpful for a lot of players that don't have those debuffs. But yeah, I think people are just kind of, they're kind of burnt out, right? They just had Fabian. Fabian's an excellent top tier fusion. And then we just had his 5-star soul and all that. So I think people are more than happy to skip a mid ish fusion just to take a little bit of a break. No problems there. But yeah, interesting to see. Let's jump into the calendar here. Alright guys, like I said, it's going to be a mixed fusion. What I see right now is that there is a hero's path at the end of the schedule showing a bonus of 50 fragments. So in the entirety of the schedule, you are allowed to skip basically 2 events. And I'm looking at the first summon rush, which is also 25. So you can technically skip the first summon rush and another event of your choice if you complete the hero's path in its entirety. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to be in the hero's path, but we can make a guess after checking out the rest of the events. So let's start here. Day 1, we got the Spider Tournament that is currently active, and then we have the Champion Training Tournament. Keep in mind, don't go crazy on the energy on day 1. Just use the regeneration energy and your daily energies. And then save your energy for when the Dungeon Diver drops. You will be able to triple dip with the Spider Training and Dungeon Diving. There is a CVC happening starting tomorrow, so you can also basically quad dip into that, get some extra points for CVC as well. I will be using Eric's probably to farm Spider with 4 food, so I'll be basically quad dipping during the CVC if needed. And it's going to be about 2200 energy to complete this on stage 20. If you're going to do stage hard 10, for example, it's probably going to take closer to 2500 energy. Just keep that in mind. The Dungeon Diver here will probably take you about 5500 energy, depending on how optimized your stages are. But 5500 there, so you need to make up about 3000 energy in the Dungeon Diver. You could spend 3000 here on the Fire Knight, so you can finish off the Spider and the Fire Knight together in the Dungeon Diver if you want to kind of maximize the energy efficiency going into the Dungeon Diver. But finding 3000 energy to spend in Fire Knight in basically like a day might be difficult, so probably better to spread it out over multiple days. The training, the usual 6,100 points. There is a legendary book here in the first training event. You might want to go for it. It's 11,000. I think that's okay price, not a great price. Great price for me is about 9,000. bad price would be like 12,000. So 11,000 is kind of on the upper end. So I would probably skip here for the champ trading for the legendary book. After that, we do have the 1, 2, and 3 gear enhancement events. Those are pretty standard now. About 20 million to complete them, depending on your RNG. Also, we're looking at 1, 2 standard arena takedown tournaments. Also pretty standard. So here we have the 1 diver, 2 divers. So 2 divers is a little bit interesting because usually we've been getting 3 divers every fusion. So that leads me to believe that this Hero's Path near the end is most likely going to be dungeon diving related. It's also during the weekend, which means it's probably going to be shard related as well. Since we don't see a champion chase or summon rush here in the schedule, my guess is this Hero's Path is probably going to be shards, probably going to be dungeon diving. Now, whether it's going to be a summon rush, so basically quality of shards, or a champion chase style Hero's Path, meaning quality of champion that you pull, that one is kind of still up in the air because we are not 100% sure. Based on the standard rotation, it goes summon rush, champion chase, summon rush, champion chase. So this first week we have summon rush. So if it follows standard rotation, then the week after should be champion chase. But now we have this Hero's Path. Now the Hero's Path could well be champion chase plus dungeon diver. We don't know. But usually it is summon rush, which means it's the quality of shard, not quality of champion. So something to keep in mind, the big shards will have probably more value during both summon rush and Hero's Path for this fusion. Now, during the middle of the fusion, we have the dragon tournament, champion training, and dungeon diving. Now that's a nice triple dip opportunity there as well. Dragon probably gives you the most options for team comps that can farm food as well, so you can do that while you're doing your dungeon diving, which is really good. And then lastly, to connect with the Hero's Path, we do have an Ice Golem event. Now Ice Golem kind of works for, dungeon diving, I guess. You can spend a lot of energy in Ice Golem if you want. And also keep in mind that the Hero's Path is over what looks like 4 days. So you have 4 days to basically accumulate energy. Keep in mind that each day with dailies and regeneration energy, you're looking at about 900 to 1000 energy. So if you want to plan out multi-day events, you can factor in basically dailies and your regeneration energy. Now, some things to note is that we just had a 2x void event on the last weekend. So the upcoming weekend, we won't have any kind of 2x boost most likely. Which means the weekend at the second weekend will have some kind of 2x boost on a shard. So that could line up nicely for the Hero's Path, depending what the Hero's Path is. Like I said, we don't know if it's summon rush style or champion chase style, but we should expect possibly a 2x boost here. Now we just had void, so it's going to be ancient or sacred shards. And of course, they can always connect the end of the fusion with some kind of Titan event. So you could potentially have some kind of Titan event starting here at the Hero's Path or the end of the Hero's Path, or the Hero's Path could have Titan points. There's always the possibility of that happening. Another thing to note is that since there are 4 epics here that you can actually fuse for champion chase points, the fact that we don't have a champion chase in this entire schedule kind of sucks because we won't get value for the void epics that we can easily put together. But we never know. With this Hero's Path, I hope it's champion chase style, which means we can actually, get points and value for the epics here, but it's unlikely that it's going to be champion chase, and it's probably going to be shard quality. So a bit of a bummer there, I think, but there's no negative to holding on to your fragments until the very end of the fusion, until you're ready to fuse Lysanthir. Now, Lysanthir is going to be, time limited fusion, so make sure you guys fuse him before the timer runs out. All right, so what is my plan for this? So personally, I think the energy breakdown and spend gives lots of opportunity for triple and even quad dips here. So it's not too bad in terms of the event layout. Obviously, the second dungeon diver here is a little bit expensive because you're just going to be spending, 5,500 energy and dragon just to complete the dungeon diver 2. So that's going to be one of the, maybe priorities to skip if you had a free event to skip. Also, this ice golem here seems not that great, considering that you have to do it just to fulfill some dungeon diving points for the hero's path, although it's a relatively small investment, and since you already have the dungeon diver here on the hero path, it's not as bad as, for example, dungeon diver 2. But like I said, there are double dip, triple dip, quad dip opportunities here. It's not that bad in terms of schedule layout. For me, I think ultimately it's going to come down to what the weekend is going to look like for this summon rush. It might be a skip. I might be looking towards the hero's path and basically just completing it with energy and shards. 2 weeks in the future. It gives me 2 weeks to preserve some shards, get ready for the hero's path. It's most likely going to be shards. Like I said, it's on the weekend. And since we don't have a third dungeon diver, that would be my secondary pick. Maybe it has soul stones, who knows, but I think it's going to be at least shards and divers component. So I think my plan would be to tentatively skip the first summon rush and then focus on the hero's path to get the extra fragments here to basically finish up the fusion. The second event for me to skip would probably be this second dungeon diver. This would basically conserve a couple thousand energy for myself, which I can use towards the hero's path. Just saying. So it kind of works out here in terms of the schedule layout, in terms of what you want to skip. Doing the last hero's path makes most sense to me, and I think it's the easiest in terms of having everything ready for you at the end, giving you enough time. You have 2 weeks, like I said, to save up everything just to prepare for that. For 100 points, you basically have 4 events worth of fragments in this one event. All right, guys, so that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this schedule breakdown here. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are planning to do with Lysanthir. Looks like the polls are saying that a massive majority of you guys don't really care for this fusion, which is totally understandable. I believe my my cluster did also did a poll. So my cluster is like ultra nightmare level players. They did a poll as well. I think it's like 70-30 in favor of no as well. Maybe if there was an undecided option, it would have went more towards undecided. But yeah, he's not getting too much love, but his schedule is not too crazy. Like I said, the only real big question mark would be the hero's path. We don't know what the 2x would be because the rotation's kind of out of whack now. It has to kind of go back into rotation until we have a reasonable guess. And we don't know what the hero's path would be, whether it's going to be champion chase style or summon rush style. But my guess would be summon rush style. The other question mark would be whether there's a Titan event that actually attaches itself to the end of this fusion. I can't imagine Lysanthir's soul to be a worthy Titan event main prize. So if it is a Titan event, it's probably going to be something else, not just his 5-star soul. And who knows, maybe if they make it juicy enough, it could really drive participation into the hero's path here at the end. But we'll see. Those are the real big question marks to me. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.